But the good news is help is on the way. And that's why today we're talking about buy low players. So this is going to be guys, and what we say buy low, it may not be an immediate payoff. It may not be something good for this year. It could be for next year too. Some guys, maybe you're already looking ahead. You want to build some depth, try to acquire some guys cheaply. So we're going to be talking about that. But before we get into it, Nate, you put on here that Skattebo dislocated his ankle. He did have emergency surgery in Philadelphia on Sunday night. And you said, are you buying long term and what is the value? So, Nate, I'm going to look up some trades while you discuss if you are going to buy him long term or not.
So it's unfortunate. Of course, the injury itself is very unfortunate. Last week, we just did our rookie report. I was talking about how I was in on Skattebo. It's like, hey, day 3 running back, usually not my thing. Guys who aren't like 90th percentile athletic testing, usually not my thing if they're day 3 running backs. But I love the vibes of Skattebo, what he had going for him, the support of the players, the team, and he looked really good at the same time. It's tough for me to buy in on him now after the injury, in addition to all those other things I mentioned. But I'm certainly not completely out on him. I'm very interested in the value. We're still trying to figure it out, I think, as things happen. And we've discussed this before. When you go and you acquire an injured player, the best time to acquire that player is not right after they get injured, because their value it's diminishing, but it's still close to wherever it was when they were healthy. If you want to go after Skattebo, the time to go get him is 5 weeks from now, when no one's thinking about him. Everyone has other priorities. It's kind of old news. Unfortunately, I don't know how bad, the injury is long term, as in like into next season. It's maybe he'll be good to go early week 1, week 2, something like that. Maybe it cuts into the season a little bit. I'm not a doctor. I'm not sure, but I'm still interested in him. A second round pick on a rebuilding team, I think that is a decent value. Anything more than that, I think would be too much.
Yeah, I think the important thing here is when you acquire a player that just got injured, you have to set your expectations for what you want him to be next year. If you're like, I'm going to buy Cam Skattebo now and he's going to be my running back 1, I don't think that's a good idea. If you think that there's some good value here and he could be a contributor to my team next year, I think that's the way to go about it. That being said, he does have just shy of a full year. I mean, right now we're recording this as October 28th. So, late August, early September next year, he's got plenty of time. He's a young guy. On the season, he's going to end his rookie year 101 attempts, 410 yards, 5 touchdowns, and then through the year, 24 receptions, 207 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So through
it's
those,
pretty productive. I mean, it's only a couple games.
yeah. So that's 8 games he played. He started 5. That's not bad at all. I did bring up Fantasy Calc, and my parameters are a super flex league, 12 team, and PPR of some sort, either half point or a full point. Here's what we got. I'll just give you a couple here, and these were all done today. Cam Skattebo straight up for Chris Olave.
See, I'd rather have Chris Olave.
I would as well. Cam Skattebo for Harold Fannin. It's been playing pretty well.
He has been playing pretty well. I could go either way on that. Depends on if there's a 10 premium or not.
Yeah, and here we go. A 27 first.
No.
Yeah, I'm not going to do it.
That's why you got to buy like 5 weeks from now.
Yeah, and I see a couple others on here. 26 first, 26 second. 26 seconds seem to be more in line.
Seconds, yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, and
I think I saw in the post-injury discourse on Twitter, a lot of people were saying like the value was like 2 seconds, because they understood you weren't going to pay a first for Cam Skattebo with the injury. So a lot of people were saying like 2 seconds, which even with that, not being a first, I thought 2 seconds was a little bit much. I think a second, and if you want to do like a second and a third, and it's Skattebo and maybe like a throw-in player, you make a little package around it. That's fine with me. If you want to add a little bit more than just a straight up second, but I can't go too much higher than that.
Yeah, so I do agree that now's not the time to buy. Obviously, you see from the values here, so monitor the situation a little bit. And it's one of those things. If he was on a competing team and you are not competing, and that you see the team going into the playoffs, that might be the time for you to try to pounce and get something done there. But Nate, let's kick it over now to our buy low players. Who is your first buy low player?
All right, buy low players. So when we're buying low, it means these players probably haven't been doing pretty haven't been lighting the world on fire so far this season. Maybe disappointment so far. And one guy who has been, unfortunately, really disappointing is Jameson Williams, wide receiver for the Detroit Lions. Currently wide receiver 52 on the season, Mike. Not great, not great. He was a top 25 guy last year. Currently on keep trade cut, he's fallen to wide receiver 32, averaging 8.3 fantasy points per game. And coming off a goose egg against Tampa Bay this past weekend, where he had 2 targets and 0 catches. On the season so far this year, 17 receptions, 289 yards, 2 touchdowns. Far cry from last year, we had 59 catches, 1,020 yards, and 7 touchdowns, averaging 17 yards per reception. Now, it hasn't been great so far, but I'm not buying at this point for what he's done in the past. I'm buying him for what I think he can do moving forward for my team. And if I'm a contending team, I like Jameson Williams as a player that his value has, depreciated enough now where I can get a good value on him. And I think that we're going to see a second half of the season turnaround. I think Jameson Williams is too talented. I know the Lions really like him as well. There's someone they obviously put a lot of effort into last year, getting the ball with over 1,000 yards, 7 touchdowns, 59 catches, as I said. Also, they signed him to a 3-year contract extension this offseason. He's under contract until 2029. They extended his rookie contract. So, they love this guy. They think he's a large part of this offense. It just, for some reason, it hasn't happened so far this year. But this is the kind of player where at the end of the season, we look back, Jameson Williams is like the wide receiver 30 on the season. And you're like, yeah, Jameson Williams had a wide receiver 30 season, all good and good. But when you're in the season, and it's like a tale of 2 halves, it feels a lot different. So his efficiency numbers are really not that bad, still averaging 7.5 yards after the catch per reception. His ADOT is up to 16, a little bit higher than it was last year at 12.4, more in line with his 2023 numbers with being used on the field a bit more. Amon-Ra St. Brown obviously has had a really good start to the year. But what I'm excited about is the end of the season. I think Jameson Williams could be a really huge part of a contending team winning in the playoffs. And that is because of the end of the season schedule. From week 12 to week 17, those last couple weeks, the last 6 weeks of the fantasy football schedule, 4 of those 6 games are at home. The Lions play great at home. They're in the Dome. Jared Goff loves the Dome. His numbers so far this year have been not as, contrasting as they have been in the past between home and away. Right now, he has 119 passer rating at home, 114 away. So not too different. Averaging about 26 more yards per game at home. But in the past, we've seen that there is a big difference. And I think that comes into play a lot more near the end of the season where you're playing in cold environments and things like that. They don't have to worry about that this year. Like I said, 4 of those 6 games at the end of the year at home, and the 2 away games are in a dome. They're at LA and they're at Minnesota. So all 6 of those games in the fantasy playoffs and the lead up to it are going to be in a dome. The Lions offense is going to be able to play the way that they want to. Jameson Williams, hopefully, is going to be a benefactor of that. And with the values right now, I think this is a good time to buy and get ready for that. Even if it doesn't happen in the next couple of weeks, I think it's coming down the road when we get into that stretch. Value right now, talking about throwing maybe a second and a third for Cam Skattebo. If you're a contending team, maybe you can move Cam Skattebo for Jameson Williams. His value is also around a second and a third round pick right now. Also saw Tyjae Spears in the 3rd round pick. Saw him straight up for Josh Downs. Now, I like me some Josh Downs. So I don't know how much I feel, I want to move off Josh Downs for Jameson Williams. Maybe I want something on top of Jameson Williams, who isn't doing as much right now, but I think you can definitely kick the tires on something like that.
I love where your mind's at here. My only problem is if you look at Jameson Williams' game log, it's like you don't know when to start the guy. The week 1, we go 4 catches, 23 yards, no touchdowns. Week 2, 2 for 108 and 1, 2 for 43 and 0, 2 for 40 and 0, 1 for 9 and 0, 6 for 66 and 1, nothing.
Yep.
So I think I don't know. I like where if you could get him cheap enough, I'm okay with it, but he's just a really hard guy to figure out when to put in your starting lineup, and that could be an issue come playoff time.
Yeah, I understand that. Looking back at last year from week 12 to the end of the season, he had at least 7 targets in every single game except for 1 when they played Buffalo. So, the volume can be there. It's just, he's got to get back on track with the offense, and we haven't seen that yet. This year, like I said, almost the entire second half of the season last year, we saw at least 7 targets. So far this year, He's only seen 7 or more targets in 2 games. So we need that to come back to life.
Yeah. It's just going to be interesting to see what they do there. Nate, are you ready for my first buy low?
I am.
All right. That is Denver Broncos running back J.K. Dobbins. He's currently running back 15 on the season, running back 27 on keep trade cut. And Nate, he's averaging 12.5 fantasy points per game. Okay. Here's the thing. Everyone thought RJ Harvey was just going to go ahead and be the guy right off the rip. And J.K. Dobbins said, I don't think so, Tim. And it's to the point where you don't know if you should start RJ Harvey on a weekly basis or not. He did have a good game versus the Cowboys, 7 carries, 46 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 reception, 5 yards, and a touchdown. But J.K. Dobbins only has had 1 clunker of a game this year, which is what we love to see from a running back, pretty consistent. And that was the win versus the Jets, the 13-11 win. By the way, congrats on the Jets for getting in the win column.
In London, I believe it was.
Yeah, and 14 carries, 40 yards, and no touchdowns, no receptions. So only 4 points. It was only real, so-so game of the year. Now, he's only signed through this year in Denver. So this could be for more of your win now team. But look, he's 27, okay, starting to reach that running back plateau. He could be playing himself into a nice role elsewhere next year. Hey, the Chargers sure could use him right about now. With Omari and Hampton still out, Najee Harris out for the year, but that's neither here nor there. Now, I'm not saying, when I'm saying playing himself into a nice role elsewhere, I don't know if he's going to be a lead back again after this year. It's always possible, but we don't know. But if he goes somewhere and he's a very good 1B, stepping in case of injury, there's a few teams with aging running backs. We don't know what the Houston Texans are going to do next year. Joe Mixon might not come back. We don't know. Aaron Jones, Josh Jacobs, guys like that are getting older. So
Saints, Kamara.
The Saints, yeah, we really don't know what it looks like for the future, but if we're trying to win now, I think J.K. Dobbins is a great guy to have on here. Would you like to know some values for J.K. Dobbins, Nate?
Yeah, I would, because I think this is interesting buy low, Mike, because he's actually doing quite well this season, but I think dynasty-wise, people are pretty low on him because of RJ Harvey and because of the 1-year contract. So you think that there's even more to come from Dobbins?
I do. And look, 12.5 fantasy points per game. You really can't beat that.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
If you're throwing that into a flex spot or he's coming off the bench for you during a bye week or an injury, you're going to get some pretty good consistency. The Broncos offense looking good right now. Kyron Williams for J.K. Dobbins and a 26 first. If you're not sold on Kyron Williams, and I know you're not, so that's why I put this one on here for you.
Yeah, I probably would take that because I like it in the first. But I think Dobbins is, not your RB1 on your team, maybe not if you're RB2 if you're truly one of the top teams in the league, but a really good RB3, like you said, if you're putting him into your flex, going to be really happy.
What about this one? A 26 first for J.K. Dobbins and Ramondre Stevenson. And so, Ramondre Stevenson, running back 29 on the season, averaging 9.4 fantasy points per game. So you're getting some really good depth for 1 pick. What do you think about this one?
I think this one looks good in a trade calculator, but not one I would do. I don't want to buy Stevenson at this point. I can't think that he's an appreciating asset, and I don't want to move a first for Dobbins. So a little too pricey for me.
Yeah, this seems, I don't want to say it's a desperation trade, but if I'm trading a first round pick, these are players that we feel are going to be cornerstones of our team for years to come. I want a little more long-term security from that pick.
Yep.
That being said, a lot of people drafted Caleb Johnson in the first round last year, but we still have hope. I think I like this one, a 27 second and a 26 third.
I think that's pretty fair value.
It's pretty solid. I like that one. And if you get any of these trades done, by all means, please let us know. Your trades courtesy of Dynasty Daddy. My trades courtesy of Fantasy Calc, just so you know where we're sourcing our trade information from. Nate, I was so surprised when I saw your next buy low on the show sheet, but tell me who it is, please.
I have to. It's a little bit of a homer in me, but I got to tell the masses. I feel like I'm Paul Revere. I'm like, Lamar is coming. So you need to buy low on Mark Andrews. Currently, tight end 21 on the season. Keep trade cuts, tight end 24. I never thought I'd see the day Mark Andrews be the tight end 24 on keep trade cut.
Here we are.
Averaging 8.2 fantasy points per game. Like I said in the beginning of the show, Lamar's coming back. He's back on Thursday on the short week. Mark Andrews, 30 years old, coming off of a tight end 6 season last year. It's not like, this is like a slow slope that we've seen, where it's really fallen off. Top tight end last year. And in the last 2 games Lamar started, Mark Andrews had 27.1 points against Detroit and 10 points against Kansas City. And then Lamar didn't play in the fourth quarter, missed a bit of the third quarter as well with his injury. But currently, he has 30 targets on the season, 23rd among tight ends, and 2 of those games with Cooper Rush, one of those games this past weekend with Tyler Huntley. So, considering the circumstances and the fact that the first 2 games of the season were unfortunately quite poor for Mark Andrews, tight end 21, I feel like is not as bad as it could have been. And then when you break it down, you look at the last 6 games. So excluding those first 2 games of the season, we know last year started off really slow and then ended up having that tight end 6 season. Exclude the first 2 games of the season. Over the last 6 games of fantasy football, Mark Andrews is averaging 10.9 points per game, which puts him at tight end 13 over the last 6 weeks. Tight end 13, and half of those games playing without Lamar Jackson, 3.5 games almost without Lamar Jackson. Lamar's coming back. I think Mark Andrews is going to finish strong to the year. I think, sitting at tight end 21 right now, I think he's still going to finish as a top 12 tight end. Isaiah Likely is back as well, but Mark Andrews is still a very large portion of this offense. And with Lamar coming back, he's going to be a part of that as well. So I'm not buying into Mark Andrews. I know it's a little bit of a homer pick here, but I think the Ravens offense as a whole is a little undervalued right now because of the Lamar Jackson injury. We've seen, 2 sides where there's Lamar and they're scoring 40 points a game, and there's not Lamar and they're scoring like 8 points per game. So there's a large difference on if Lamar is playing or not, and the rest of that team really follows suit with fantasy football. The cost of Mark Andrews right now, Zach Ertz, which I know Zach Ertz has been good, but over the last 6 games, he's not tight end 13. I'll tell you that. He's doing a little bit worse than that.
He is tight end 10 on the season, though, Nate.
He is. He's been playing with Marcus Mariota, too, as of late. Mark Andrews for a 3rd-round pick. And I saw a dozen trades where it was Mark Andrews for a 3rd-round pick. I don't know if this gets done in any of my leagues, to be quite honest, but go ahead and throw a 3rd-round pick up for Mark Andrews. If you get that, you are stealing. You are stealing Mark Andrews. Even if there's no tight end premium, there's no way anyone should be giving him up for a 3rd, but I saw it plenty. Darnell Mooney, Tony Pollard, 2 other names I saw swap straight up from Mark Andrews. Definitely would be kicking the tires on something like that.
Yeah, for sure. And what I like about this, look, Mark Andrews, he's technically a free agent after this season. Perhaps the Ravens extend him. I don't know. It's always possible. That being said, 30 years old, even if he's not in Baltimore, he's going to be somewhere. He's going to be a starting tight end. He's going to be relevant. If Zach Ertz could do it late in his 30s or in his mid-30s, Mark Andrews can do it as
Travis Kelce, George Kittle, all those guys are older than Mark Andrews. Andrews still has, I would think, 3 or 4 more years. Maybe he's not the tight end 1 anymore. We're not going to expect him to be the number 1 overall tight end anymore. But there's no reason that he can't be a top 12 tight end over the next couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, look at a guy like Dallas Goedert. He's 30 as well. Still, he has his the most touchdowns in his career right now. He has 7 so far, which is a career high.
Nice.
In only 7 games. And the first game of the year, he did not have a touchdown reception. So 7 touchdowns in 6 games. Pretty impressive. So I definitely like this buy right here. Nate, are you ready for my next buy low?
Let's hear it.
All right. Tampa Bay Buccaneers wide receiver Tez Johnson, currently wide receiver 64 on the season. Keep Trey Cut, wide receiver 97 fantasy points per game. But Nate, trajectory is upwards. Okay. In the 23-3 win versus the New Orleans Saints, who now have a new starting quarterback in Tyler Shuck, by the way, announced today. He led the team in receptions with 5 yards, 43, and was second in targets. He had 6 to Emeka Egbuka's 9. He finished with a stat line of 5 catches, 43 yards, and no touchdowns. But in the previous 3 games, he compiled a stat line of 9 catches, 162 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Mike Evans is on IR. Chris Godwin in and out of the lineup, just trying his hardest, and I give the guy the utmost credit for trying to gut it out. Tez is the second wide receiver option, or he could be the 3rd overall option if you count Cade Otton, who's starting to come out a little stronger. So, yeah, Baker Mayfield Baker Mayfield's a gritty guy, man. He just really puts it all out there for his team. Good on you, Cleveland, I guess. So I think the sky's the limit for Tez Johnson. I don't know what this looks like long term, but if he keeps playing well, he could definitely factor in to be a piece for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense moving forward.
Yeah, and Jalen McMillan, no news on if he's coming back this year either.
Yeah, I know he's on IR. I don't know about him at all. It's a shame too, because he would have had ample opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately he could have been eaten right now.
Yeah. What does it cost to get him? A 27 third.
Yeah. I think that's a pretty good going rate for him. You know, I think you need if you need something to get into your lineup, I think it's worth it. I'm not just going out there and spending a third on Tez Johnson. I don't need him though.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
I saw this one, Cedric Tillman for Tez Johnson and a 26 fourth.
Yeah. I'm more than happy to move off of Cedric Tillman.
Yeah, you're moving off of a guy who is he back yet? Do you know?
Not yet.
Okay.
But I don't think it really matters.
Still hurt. When he comes back, Dylan Gabriel's a starting quarterback. I know a lot of people are speculating about Shedeur Sanders.
Shedor's going to play.
He will, but Kevin
will play.
Stefanski is the head coach of the Browns. He
For
was
now.
non-committal about starting him after the bye week. So, but that's all coach speak. So yeah, do you want to put the quarterback upgrade with Tez Johnson? Better opportunity. Give me Tez Johnson there, and a 27 second for Tez Johnson, and you get a 26 third back on top of it.
No, I'm not going to make this trade. I don't want to move a second.
Okay. All right.
I understand like value wise, like, like 2/3 for a second kind of plays out, but I don't want to move a second.
Okay. Nate, give me another buy low.
All right. Another guy coming back from injury is J.J. McCarthy, the quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings. Currently quarterback 39 on the season, quarterback 21 on keep trade cut, averaging 14 points per game. Will be starting against Detroit this weekend. Carson Wentz just underwent season-ending shoulder surgery, so he's going to be done. They've already announced their plan is for McCarthy to play this week. They wanted to make sure that he was fully healthy before committing to him being back on the field.
Good.
I still believe in J.J. McCarthy, and I'm not someone who, came into this season as a huge McCarthy guy. I'm kind of middle on him. Like, I can see it. I'm also not going to, dive headfirst into it. But Kevin O'Connell is still one of the best coaches if I'm going to gamble on a quarterback working out. Look what happened with Sam Darnold last year. Look what he's doing now with the Seattle Seahawks. Kevin O'Connell definitely played a large part in that.
Daniel Jones was there last year too.
It's true. I'm willing to bet on any quarterback that Kevin O'Connell is putting out there. And J.J. McCarthy, we've only seen for 2 games so far. He's got great weapons on that offense, from Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, Jordan Addison is underrated for how good he's been playing. And then TJ Hockenson, of course, who also has not been playing that well from a fantasy football perspective, but is still one of the top tight ends in the league. Also has a long leash moving forward. He's got the first-round draft capital, of course, and the personality of J.J. McCarthy gives him a long leash versus someone like Anthony Richardson, unfortunately, who, had to take himself out of the game at one point because he was too tired. I don't think J.J. McCarthy would ever do such a thing. J.J. McCarthy is like, he was the perfect coach for Jim Harbaugh at Michigan, and he's the perfect coach's quarterback. So he's definitely going to be able to have a chance to play out the majority, if not all of his rookie contract before anyone's going to make any decision on him. So you're not just hoping he turns it around and makes something happen this year. He's got plenty of time. Last time we saw him, he struggled against the Falcons. And at that point in week 2, we were like, man, and McCarthy can't look good against the Falcons because the Falcons defense, coming into the season, we're like, this team's going to suck. The Falcons defense is going to suck. They're going to be one of the worst defenses in the league. They're going to get thrown the ball all over. So week 2, seeing McCarthy struggle against the Falcons, we were like, oh, this is not good. Turns out the Atlanta Falcons actually have one of the best defenses in the league. Currently the second best defense by yards per game, number 1 in passing yards per game. So it's okay that McCarthy struggled in his second ever start against the Atlanta Falcons. It's one of the best pass defenses in the league this year. He was sacked 9 times through those first 2 games. So that is something that a little bit of the offensive line's fault, a little bit of him just having to, the game needs to slow down a bit for him still. But there's plenty of opportunity here for his value to increase, him to do really good things with those weapons around him. Maybe his ceiling, I don't know if he has the rushing capability to really be like the quarterback 1 or anything like that, but say he's a high-end quarterback 2, can hit that quarterback 10 range or something like that on a season. Still a really good price at the moment, because I'm looking at trades of Alec Aomanor in 2 seconds for JJ McCarthy. I'm looking at a first-round pick and a third-round pick. I don't think that's expensive at all. Devontae Adams, if you're a rebuilding team. Quentin Johnston, who did not draw a single target last week for the Chargers. I think McCarthy is very accessible right now, and a price that I'm willing to pay to see what I can do with him. And I know, Mike, earlier in the season, you were going after him.
Yeah. I mean, given the opportunity to start, the value was still down. I think now is a good time to buy, obviously, with him coming off injury. And if you do get him, throw out a couple fab bucks on Max Brosmer, former University of Minnesota quarterback. With JJ battling injuries throughout his time in the league so far, it was good to have that handcuff. And look, if you can't make the trade, but you get Max Brosmer and JJ McCarthy goes down,
worse things.
You turn the waiver wire into next year's draft treasure.
Until the Vikings go get somebody else, because Brosmer's not that good.
Well, yeah, but hey, look, the game you got to play, right?
I'm that guy who's like, if you have a quarterback, you start him. And I started Andy Dalton this week, and he got 0.6 points.
Yeah, I had to start Andy Dalton in a league too.
I think I started him in 2 different leagues.
Between him
less
getting
than a point,
not much, and Quentin Johnston getting a big old goose egg. If I would have had 5 points from Quentin Johnston and just a respectable quarterback day from Andy Dalton, I would have won. But hey, so what it is.
That's how it goes.
Hey, would you like my last buy low?
Let's hear it. Last one.
All right. Tennessee Titans running back Tyjae Spears, currently running back 52 on the season. Keep in mind, they missed some time with an injury. I'll get there. Keep Trey Cuddy's running back 41, 8.7 fantasy points per game. He's back from a high ankle sprain injury. He did miss 4 games. Now, Tony Pollard, is signed through 2026, but the Titans need to get younger. We know that. Tony Pollard does not make this team younger. It only count towards $2 million in dead cap if they cut him in the offseason, and the Titans would save $7.25 million. So this is a team that needs to get younger. They need to find a spark. They need to find better offensive weapons overall. Spears could be that guy. Check this out, Nate. Since his return, first the Cardinals, his first game back, 4 carries, 14 yards, easing him back into the lineup, right? First the Raiders, 5 carries, 31 yards, no touchdowns, 4 receptions, 19 yards, no touchdowns. The following week against the Patriots, 5 carries, 22 yards, no touchdowns, 3 receptions, 18 yards, no touchdowns. Mike, what are you talking about? You're crazy. Then against the Colts, 9 carries, 59 yards, and a touchdown, 3 catches, 23 yards, no touchdowns. And against the Colts, Pollard did have more carries, 11-9, but less yards, 44-59, and no touchdowns. That's against, Pollard against Spears. Pollard also had less targets, 2-3. So we see
the tide is turning.
It's starting to shift. Okay. And look, the trade deadline is coming up too. So Tony Pollard could possibly be a trade candidate.
Maybe.
They have Tyjae Spears in-house. I don't think he's going to be the guy getting traded. Nate, what does it cost right now to get Tyjae Spears? Thank you for asking. I'll tell you. A 26th third.
I love that value. This next trade you got, I don't think I'm willing to pay a second quite yet. I love a third. I love a third.
Yeah, I love a third as well. And a 26 second and a 27 fourth was the trade that Nate was alluding to.
Yeah, just a little high for me at the moment. And it's not necessarily against Tyjae, who, if this was on a different team, not the Titans.
Yeah.
And we were seeing this kind of, okay, the volume's starting to go up. Sure, you get a starting running back or something like that for a second. But on the Tennessee Titans, where their offense has been pretty terrible so far this year, it's not something I'm just excited to buy into.
Yeah. What about this one then? I know you said no seconds, but a 26 second and you get Spears and a 26 third back.
Yeah, I think this is good value. We're this is pretty fair. This looks good on the trade calculator for sure. But I think, if you're a contending team, it's not a bad trade. Trading a late second for Spears and getting a third back. That way you have some insulation, for whatever assets you have.
Yeah. All right. Thank you for watching this Dynasty Rewind video. I hope you enjoyed it. Do you like buy lows? Do you want to see more videos like that? Please, by all means, let us know in the comments below. Always enjoy doing videos like this. So hope you enjoyed it as well. Make sure you hit that like, make sure you comment, make sure you subscribe, share with a friend, maybe a league mate, maybe somebody that's not in your league, whatever you choose to do. Head on over to dynastyrewind.com for articles, rankings, and a link to some cool merch. If you want a nice Dynasty Rewind shirt, they're comfortable. Bella Canvas is what we typically use. I believe there are some cheaper options on there as well. Patreon.com/Dynasty Rewind for exclusive members only podcasts. You could also get that by becoming a YouTube channel member, or you could sign up and become a Spotify premium member, and you just get the bonus podcast there as well. So until next time, everybody, thank you again for watching.